So you probably feel like you're getting pretty close to being ready to publish whatever it is that you're creating over the course of this process, because you've got everything in place and it's formatted and it's got pictures, and why don't we just hit send and publish, right? I know the feeling. You've been working really hard on this, building out the outline and all of these extra pieces that you may not normally do, but I do want to remind you that not only are we creating this post that is beautiful, but we also want to make sure that people actually want to click on it. So what we're talking about for the next couple videos is, how does this post or product description or homepage or about page or whatever we're creating here, case study, how does that look in the Google search results? Because the headline that you create for whatever that page is may not need to be the same as what you put on your SEO title. So let's take a look at what that means. So I Googled podcast transcription SEO because I know I rank for this term, and I can show you what it looks like in reality. So here's my blog post called 3 SEO reasons to add a transcript to SEO to podcast show notes. So I wanted to get the idea of SEO and the importance of that into this title, and also transcript and podcast. So I'm getting all of these pieces of this keyword into this. They don't always have to go in the same order that we think people would look for them in, and I definitely fit in with the other people talking about this called podcast transcripts and podcast transcripts, right? But I'm specifically talking about SEO, and I want to make sure it gets in there, not just have it show up in the blog post that people might be talking about. So I'm calling out SEO specifically here. Same, podcast SEO, how to make your podcast rank, right? This is going to include transcripts in it, but I'm outranking them because it's a post specifically about transcripts, not just podcast SEO. So when you look at this, you can see that here's the SEO title right here. This should be 65 to 70 characters. Otherwise, it looks like this. It's okay if it looks like this. Google continues to read another 10 or 15 characters past this. Like it indexes up to 80 characters here, but you will get cut off in those search results. So this one has, Search Engine Journal has a shorter SEO title here, and then they have a dash, and then they have their business name, and their business name gets cut off at the end, and that's okay. So if when you set up your default settings, you wanted to include the name of your business at the tail end of it, that's cool. If it gets cut off, that's okay. But we want to get the key part of what it is that we want to get across in this blog post that people should click through on here in the SEO title in the first 65 to 70 characters. And I say 65 to 70 because some characters are skinnier than others. If you have a lot of uppercase W's that are really wide, you're going to have a lot less space than if you have all I's and L's that are really skinny. So it's hard because there's not even an easy rule. It's 320 pixels, right? But like, who counts in pixels? So I like to tell people that it's 65 to 70 characters. You can use a character counter to get an idea for how long this is. Now, I could have the blog post name the same thing as the SEO title. That would be totally fine. And if you don't go into your SEO settings and change the SEO title, that's what it will default to. It will default to, this is the headline, the H1 of the post, and this is also the SEO title. It'll just double it up. So if you don't go in to specify this, it won't be left blank. But if you want to say something a little bit different, this can be an opportunity to include new keywords or to talk about things in a little bit of a different way. So I have this blog post, 3 SEO reasons to add a transcript to podcast show notes. When you actually look, I need to zoom out quite a bit here, y'all. Hold on just a hot second. Phew, that was super zoomed. You'll see that for my actual title for this, I call it Your Podcast Needs a Transcript for SEO. I changed around the order of it a little bit. I could also say, and here's how to do a podcast transcript for SEO, right? I could include that this is sort of a tutorial of how to do the transcript. You may also notice when we were talking about different subheadings, this is how I have mine set up. So that way I have my H2 tags and H3 tags, and you can see it in my table of contents, how these all fit together. If you wanted to do something like that, you can use a table of contents plugin to do that so people know how to move it around. But you can see that my SEO title is not necessarily the same as my headline title. That's what I was trying to get to here. So how do I do this for my blog post? Whether you're on WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, whatever, there's going to be an area where you can put in your SEO information. In WordPress, you're going to want to get a plugin. This is the Yoast plugin. That's kind of the most popular one. I often also use the Rank Math plugin because that, I move myself around so I don't cover things up, because I just prefer the interface. It's not necessarily better or worse. I just like that you can add more than one keyword. But when you're ready to hit publish, if you're in WordPress, use this. If you're in another one of these all-in-one kind of tools like Squarespace or WordPress or I'm sorry, Squarespace or Shopify or even Kajabi, any of these platforms that you could be using, for those you're just going to go to edit your page settings and there will be a little SEO tab on all of them. I happen to be on WordPress, so I'm going to show you on WordPress. So I've got my focus key phrase, which is what Yoast calls that target keyword. I'm just going to go, how long does SEO take? It's a really fairly long key phrase. This isn't just, I could say SEO longevity, but nobody would say it that way, right? I could kind of find ways to say it shorter, but remember that your key phrase isn't just the general topic of everything. I could say that every page on my site is about SEO, but every single blog post that I write has a slightly different goal in mind. So this one is all about how long does SEO take? Now, when I want to create my Google preview, this is where we can start to talk about how does this look in my search engine results. And so the page title, like I said, if you don't change your SEO title, it will just include whatever the H1 or headline is on your page, which is fine. But maybe I also want to change this a little bit just to have something and some different keywords showing up in one place and another. And I know that I have 9 factors in my blog post, so I could call it 9 factors that impact your SEO, how long SEO takes. Okay. Now this feels a little bit long for our permalink. The permalink is the part that comes, well, the permalink is the entire length of it. The slug is the part that comes after that domain and slash. It feels a little bit long to me. So I think I'm just going to call this one how long SEO. The shorter we can keep the permalink and the slug without it being, how dash long dash is dash SEO in, like that can be really restrictive and hard to copy paste and more likely to get mistyped. So as you're going through and updating this, you may also want to change out that slug, which again is the second half of the permalink. There's URL. There's all different ways to say basically the same thing here. But you want to swap that out so that way it is as short as it can be while still getting across the point. And also ideally, if you can get a keyword in here, people are looking for how long does SEO take. So I'm just going to put how long SEO, and hopefully Google will understand what that is. So I'm coming up on 8 minutes. Damn, I've been talking a while. So I will talk about the meta description in the next video.